My name's Mike. I want to wish everybody a happy Easter 2018. Invite you into my house, and I want to show you how I make my Sunday gravy that I've been having since I was a little kid. I want to get out of my new Easter sweater and into my cooking gear, so I'll be right back. Okay, we're back. Let's get started. As you can see, it's gravy, not sauce. I want to show you all the ingredients that I'll be using today. We start out with bottom round for our braciole. Now, I've already made one to save time. I will show you how I make my next one. We have sweet Italian sausage, hot Italian sausage. We have a nice center cut bone-in pork chop. Beef veal and pork. I use nothing else but beef veal and pork. 4 eggs, 1 egg per pound of beef veal and pork. Now we have the inside of an Italian roll that's been soaking in milk. Other ingredients, I've already chopped the garlic. I've chopped the onion. I have a smaller chop of garlic to put in the meatballs. Salt, oregano, garlic powder, fresh parsley, red seed pepper, locatello pecorino romano cheese, breadcrumbs, wine. This is homemade wine. I make my own wine in September. This is homemade wine. You'll get nothing better at a liquor store. And Bertolli olive oil. This is what I use, a contadina. This big one here, that's a little short of 4 cans. So you got 4, 5, 6 of the crushed. I mix in 2 whole because I like bits of tomato in there, and I mix it up with my hand and mix it all together, and 1 can of tomato paste. So that's basically 6 crushed and 2 whole squeezed with your hand and the tomato paste. When you're getting your meat, go to a good butcher. You're going to pay a little extra, but the quality and the end product is going to be a lot better. Now, as I said before, I already rolled the braciole. To save time, I'm going to show you how I make my braciole. That's bottom round, and but you can use whatever type of steak you want. Just tell your butcher what you want to do. All right, the first thing I want to do is we're going to lightly salt and pepper it. I also like to add a little bit of garlic salt, just a little bit to give a little bit of taste. Not too much. Now I'm going to add finely chopped garlic. A little bit of oregano. And finally some fresh parsley. Oh, I forgot. Locatello Romano, Pecorino Romano. You can never have enough of that. Don't that look beautiful? Look at that. Oh boy, this is going to taste great. Okay, now we're going to roll it. Start at one end and you want to roll it nice and tight. Okay, now you can either use butcher's twine, which I don't have, or a couple toothpicks. Make sure when they come out, when it comes out, it has 2 toothpicks in it, because you don't want to be choking on one of them. There you have 2 nice pieces of braciole. Okay, now I want to season my bone-in pork chop. Once again, a little bit of salt, some pepper, and again a little taste of garlic salt. All right, next what we're going to do is we're going to fry all this beautiful meat up. We'll make the meatballs later because the meatballs don't go in for about the last hour and a half. But you always got to remember, when you're cooking over an open flame, right now, you want to keep stirring the tomatoes. You don't want them to stick to the bottom. You want that nice and hot. And I always use contadina tomatoes because I've had a lot of good results with them. But whatever you like best is what you use. All right, before I fry up my meat, I want to saute some onion and some fresh garlic to go in the tomatoes right now. Bertolli olive oil, the best you can get. my onions in. Low flame. You want to put them in first for about a minute before you put your garlic in. You don't want them burning. Now I add my garlic. Oh, that smells good. That's nice. We're going to do this for about a minute and a half, 2 minutes. We don't want the onions to brown. We don't want the garlic to burn. I'll tell you what this does, the smell of your house now, if you could bottle it, you'd be a millionaire. Minute and a half, they're ready to go in to our tomatoes. Okay, put that in there. Stir them in, and while we have our lid off, I'm going to pop some cheese in there. Never have enough cheese. Garlic powder. I know I put pieces of garlic in there, but I like the garlic powder also. And some red seed pepper. Give it a little bite. Okay. Mix that all up. Make sure there's nothing on the bottom because the tomatoes will stick to the bottom. You got to keep stirring.
Listen, tell Michael not to let the sauce stick. Keep stirring it.
Henry says don't let the sauce stick.
I'm stirring it.
Okay, that's done. I'm going to leave the lid off now. I've cleaned my pan. Now I'm going to add some more braciole olive oil. And I'm going to start frying my meat up. We'll start out with the sausage. You'll notice I cut it in different sizes so you know when you take it out. The sweet's bigger, the hot is a little bit shorter. Okay. What we want to do here is brown. This meat's going to be cooking in the gravy. This is what gives it all the flavor. The pork gives you your flavor. Notice what I'm doing here? I'm pricking the sausage to get those juices into the oil. Makes a big difference. Okay, it's been in about 3.5, 4 minutes. I'm going to transfer it over into my tomatoes here. All right, next we're going to do the pork chop and the braciole. After a sip of wine. Okay, we'll throw this one in here. Listen to that sizzle. Okay, that's brown enough. We're going to let it finish cooking in our gravy, which will be about 3.5 hours. Put it in whole. Get your braciole. Get that in there. And now the flavor. All that juice. And as I always do when I have it open,
more cheese and garlic?
Cheese. Yes, sirree. We're going to give it a good stir. Get that braciole to the bottom there. There we go. Make sure nothing's sticking on the bottom. We're going to have it on low. 3.5 hours, and I'm going to go on to make the meatballs. You put your meatballs in about the last hour and a half. Okay, now we're going to do our meatballs. Beef, veal, and pork, as I said before. Now, anytime you deal with food, it's just common sense. Your hands have to be scrubbed. And if you have jewelry on, you know, take the jewelry off. Get that off. And, oh, my high school ring. Put my parents through a lot to get this ring, and it was touch and go in senior year, but I got it. And I have never taken it off since 1970. Bishop Newman High School, great school in the heart of South Philadelphia. Okay, first thing we want to do is we want to crack our eggs. I said an egg, 1 egg for each pound. We're going to start with 3 because you can always add, but you can't take away. Here's 1. Here's 2. There's 3. I'll move that around a little bit, get that a little moist in there. Probably going to need 4, but we'll start with 3. Other ingredients. You know I love this. Cheese. A lot of cheese in there. We want a lot. Okay. Got the cheese in there. Thinly sliced garlic. Not as big as what we put in our gravy. Thinly sliced. Little pinch of oregano, don't overdo it. Okay. Garlic powder. All right. Fresh parsley. Get fresh. Don't use that stuff out of a container. This pays to get the best. Now I've had a roll, an Italian roll, the inside of an Italian roll soaking in milk. You want to put that in there because that makes your meatballs moist. Let's mix this up. Okay. Final ingredient, Italian breadcrumbs. Okay. Now we're going to mix this up good. Work it good. Work it good. Throw another piece in. See if it needs more. Oh, more cheese. Yeah, put it all in. What the heck. A little more salt. Black pepper. Oh, we're there. We're there. What I'm going to start doing now, I have the texture of the beef, veal, and pork the way I like it. Now there again, that's your personal choice. Some people like the meatballs soft, some like them medium, some like them hard. I have a friend of mine that likes his hard and doesn't like them soft. It's whatever your taste is. So we're going to make these. This is basically a medium batch up here. So first thing I have to do is my baking pan, because you can either fry them or you can bake them. With this many meatballs, it saves me time just putting them in the oven. So a little bit of Bertolli olive oil. Even though this is a non-stick pan, a little bit of Bertolli in there. Get it all over the place. There you are. On the sides. There. Bing, bing, zip, zip, zip. Okay, we got that there. Now I'm going to roll the first meatball. You want to keep your hands moist. So I always run the water, keep them moist, and you roll your meatball. Now it all depends what size you want. Some people like them big, some people like them small. I like them medium. Nice little texture there. There's one. We should get about 30 meatballs out of this, I would think, or maybe a little under 30. And what I do is, you know, after our first meal, we get containers and we freeze it, and I send them down to my sons. And this makes a lot of meals. This probably makes about, I'd say, 8 meals. But I'll tell you what, it's good when you take it out of the freezer, but there's nothing like that first day. Nothing like that first day. The smell of your house and I said 30, 31. Once the meatballs are all rolled, as I told you before, they don't go in the gravy until the last hour and a half because they're going to cook in the oven. They're going to go in the oven at 375 for about 20 minutes. Now that they're all rolled and everything, I switch from wine to beer. Now what I have to do is, as it's been cooking for a while, I like to add some of my homemade wine that I make in September to the gravy. A little bit. We'll add a little bit later. And we want to give that a good stir and let nature take its course here. And you pretty much know me by now. Every time I go near this thing, this pot, I always throw some cheese in there. Love it. That's going to simmer. It went in at 220. We'll be back later. All right, our oven has hit the preheat stage. Now we're going to put our meatballs in 375 for about 20 minutes. And while we're over here, I always told you, constant stir. You don't want it sticking to the bottom. And by now you know, every time I come over, a little bit of cheese. See you in a bit. Back to my Easter attire because most of the frying and sauteing is done. Okay, the meatballs are done. They cook for 20 minutes at 375. And I want to explain something to you. When you're doing them in the oven, it's always good about 10 minutes to take them out and turn them so they don't come out flat. Okay, we're going to put them in. And there's all that juice from the beef, pork, and veal. That's going in there. Look at them. Don't they look beautiful? Oh my God. They're all going in. Like I said, the gravy's been cooking for 2 hours. And you put your meatballs in at the end. Give them a little stir there. And as we always know, gravy and cheese. I always hit it with cheese. Now we got about another hour and a half for this to cook, and dinner will be ready. After 3.5 hours, the gravy is done. We're going to mix it in with our ziti here. Smells delicious. We have our meat, we have our meatballs, we have our sausage, we have our braciole, we have our pork chop there. We're ready to get started. Well, I hope you enjoyed the video, and maybe you'll give it a shot. I hope you like it. And it's been something that I have been eating since I was a little kid. And we're ready to sit down and give it a shot, and I'm sure it's going to be absolutely delicious. Thank you and have a happy Easter.